What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be fooling around with a title called Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. If I had to describe it, this is kind of like Skyrim, or maybe even like Morrowind's kind of like darker, edgier goth kid cousin that's really obsessed with Arthurian legends and like wearing rings that are shaped like a dragon skull, that kind of stuff. And so anyways, we're going to take a look at the title here today, see if it's something you wanted to add to your wish list or otherwise pass on. If after watching this, you wanted to get the game for yourself, I got a link for you down below in the description. The game is currently in early access. I would probably argue that it's in really early access, but it's slowly like getting there, and we didn't get to cover it the last time it came around, largely because I had just done an exclusive preview of the game a couple, like a month or so before the game came out, so I wasn't able to hit it again when it actually came out commercially and proper. In addition to the link to this game's early access, you can look down below. You will also find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream. You can find a VOD of me playing this game for like 5.5 hours that will let you get a rough idea of how I got myself to where I am right now inside the confines of the game. But let's get cruising. What is this title? This is a game that's made by a company called Awaken Realms. Awaken Realms is responsible for a number of very popular video game intellectual properties that are set in various universes. I think Nemesis Lockdown is probably the one they're most known for. That's a very popular board game, but also Tainted Grail is a board game inside that universe. And so anyways, I'm a big fan of Nemesis and Nemesis Lockdown. I think they're really good board games. Like, as far as board game goes, you would be hard-pressed to find anything better, in my opinion. They're like really good games. My favorite one is Arkham Horror, but Awaken Realm makes very big, very complex games that you can play around with in board game format. This is a spin-off in that Arthurian universe. I gotta stay up, man. They're throwing things at me, dude. So many things being thrown right now. The game does have a perfect parry system, by the way. I just gotta, like, there we go. Got him right there. Well, I mean, you're not making me super happy either by smashing my head in, bro. Like, I'm trying not to get my head smashed in, but you keep trying. Hey, quit it with the healing potion, bro. It's against the rules. Don't healing potion right in front of me. And so I spent about 5 hours with this game yesterday getting ready for this video so that I could help you figure out whether or not this is a title you wanted to add to your collection. As of right now, my main character, this game has like kind of a Morrowind opening. It's basically you getting off of a prison boat just by like a different form. So you wake up in a prison cell, someone frees you from that prison cell. I guess it's kind of like the Oblivion cold open. And then from there, you are thrust into a world. What is this right here? That's not... Oh, it is a cheese ball of doom. Who does not want to learn to craft a cheese ball of doom? You were thrust into what is effectively a post-apocalyptic medieval world where it's kind of like all over. I haven't really gotten to the bottom of the gist of what the overall theme of this universe is. It seems like there's kind of like this apocalyptic mist that descends on this place like every X amount of years. And so England is awash in random bad things happening every X amount of years. Oh, he's got a little bit of flick to it. Okay. I was trying to figure out, I never fought a drowner before. You got to learn everybody's animations in this game before you can be successful at fighting them. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to perfect parry them. I'm going to try to fight them back a little bit. Luckily, they're a little bit slower than I am. So if I can keep getting off damage right there, we can maybe snipe one or two of them. Yeah, they're kind of tripping over each other right now, trying to get after me. Stamina is a big thing in this game. You're going to want to maintain it, but as I was saying before we started fighting drowners, the storyline seems to be that this is like post-apocalyptic medieval England. Sometime around when King Arthur was alive or several centuries after. It seems like every X amount of time, a whole bunch of nastiness called the Weird descends upon this place and causes like the dead to come back to life and all kinds of wild things to happen. And it seems like they use some kind of like perverse holy necromancy to like bring King Arthur back from the dead to deal with this problem every single time it happens. But apparently like the cycle needs to stop, and we are kind of embroiled in that idea that by resummoning King Arthur or whatever to deal with the problems that Avalon is facing over and over again, it's probably not super healthy. There we go. Get a couple... Oh, I got the wrong weapon out right there. There is magic in this game, by the way. You can see me wielding it in my hand right there. Go ahead and wipe him out. What you got going on, man? Not much. Okay, I'm going to, like, tickle you up a little bit. How about that? Man, I just cannot get that read right there. I want to get it super there. Oh, I feel like... Well, I got that one. Apparently, it just didn't get, like, a knockback animation. I didn't take damage, though, from that last one, which means that I did, in fact, perfect parry it. All right, there we go. A little bit of damage on you. What you want to do? I guess he just wants to have a really short hand swing. Enemies do drop the things that they have on them, just in case you're like a lootaholic. Right now, I am on a quest to go to some kind of temple. I'm not super sure on the narrative right now, all right? It's kind of all over the place. I was rescued from prison by, like, this thief guy. He told me that I need to steal Excalibur. Like, Excalibur needs to be stolen so that the cycle will be broken. And then promptly, he and all the other supporting characters kind of disappeared off to their corners or died. That way, you know, I could become the main last contender of the storyline, I guess. Apparently, Galahad is coming to this part of England to investigate something. And, like, I'm supposed to be going to a temple for some reason. So I'm just going to take you along with me. And we'll see what kind of crazy battle fights we can get on into. I would say that if I had to give you my impressions of the game thus far, it kind of reminds me of titles like, I don't know if you ever played Gothic 3. So this is clearly like a game that has, like, really big ambitions. And it's being made by a team that's clearly on a budget. But, like, it wants to be kind of like a contender with all the main IPs for open world games. And there aren't really that many of them if you think about it. You've got, like, Rockstar making open world RPGs. You've got Bethesda making open world RPGs. You've got BioWare occasionally doing it. You've got, like, Obsidian sometimes dabbling. Like, there's not that many companies that make big-scaled games like this, and especially not on a budget like this game is trying to accomplish. And so anyways, I really, really respect the ambitions of this game. My impressions are kind of like 7.5 out of 10 positive right now. It's difficult to say whether that's going to shift upwards or whether that's going to shift downwards with time, because in my opinion, the game is still in kind of like a very early access phase. There is some wonk. There is some jank.
You knew? You're not Dalrita. I can see you're not Dalrita. I mean, I don't know all Dalrita, but you don't look like us. Don't even smell like us.
I'm here by coincidence?
Ah, and it's a good coincidence. I like good coincidences. You can learn a lot from them. That's what my brother says.
So, you have any quests or anything, or is this just kind of like a conversation that I've been thrust into? I was talking to my audience, sir. Sir. I was talking to them about important things as to whether or not they want to buy you. You could be inside their house right now, and I was trying to help them decide whether or not that's worth it, all right? So just pipe down. I like your tattoo. Your tattoo's really, really cool. I like it a lot. I want to compliment you, but I'm in the middle of something. As I was saying so far, I think my impressions are kind of like borderline positive. This is a game that's very early on in its development, and I think that becomes pretty apparent as you're playing it. You're going to run into a lot of placeholders, and so I think in a lot of cases it becomes kind of difficult actually to figure out whether or not this game is worth it, just because you are going to run into those placeholders from time to time. I'll give you like an example. Prior to the recording of this video, I was working on a quest. And I went to the location that the quest marker said that I should go to, and in going there, I found nothing. I was supposed to pick up some tools, effectively. So I was like, all right, that's fine, whatever. I'm not the kind of player that likes to wander around looking for stuff. I'm not gonna, like, look up underneath everything. I gave it, like, 45 minutes of looking around for these tools. I'll Google it. So I Googled it. After Googling it, it turns out that on the wiki, there's just a stub there, and it says that the entire thing is kind of like a work in progress, and it's not implemented yet, but you can complete it in like a roundabout way by looting the item from some other location where it exists in the game world. And so anyways, I went ahead and did that, which definitely felt like an unsatisfying, wonky resolution of the quest. That's going to happen from time to time with this title, and you're just going to have to stomach that until the early access gets around to, like, you know, fleshing all that stuff out and getting it finished. It also seems to happen somewhat at random. It appears as though I'm going to have to conversate with some people in here. You've already heard the voice acting. I have found the voice acting to be fine. It's not out of this world, but it's also not unbridled terrible. Like, it's fine, actually. It's okay. Most of the characters seem to speak in hushed tones. They've got kind of like this, if I talk too loud, the devil's going to come collect me thing going on. But I've got to talk to everybody around town to figure out I can't go up into the temple because it counts as trespassing and they don't want me up there. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to people, and we'll just cut all that dialogue out so that we can focus more on gameplay. Alright, well, one of these guys said he wants me to go out and stab a mist bear. Oh, look at that, the mist is gone. I was curious how that mechanic was going to work. So here's a look at the game world. I don't know if this is where it ends as of right now, but this is what I've seen in like the past 4 or 5 hours. I've pretty much been to all the places down here in 4 or 5 hours. I haven't really been up and around in this area, and I just got to here. Now, whether or not this is going to become an actual playable area because it's been overtaken by the Wyrd, or whether or not this is their early access way of saying that like this content is not in the game yet, I haven't been able to verify as of right now. But roughly 4.5 to 5.5 hours into the game, I've hit a lot of the stuff around here. There are some side quests, but I had a lot of trouble figuring out which ones were like implemented and which ones had to be worked around a lot of the time. So I ended up relying on the wiki a lot more than I would have liked for a commercial product just to figure out whether or not a quest in and of itself was viable and completable. I will say, though, that all of the quests except for one were able to be completed in a roundabout way if they, like, weren't implemented. And so it's been kind of an odd experience. You can see me sort of going through that if you go back and watch the stream VOD, although that is a lot of footage. Go ahead and wipe that guy out right there. What is this door right here? There's just an invisible wall right here. I can go no further. The game does very much favor these large landmarks. There tend to be very high walls. There tend to be like these vantage points that you can see from around. I'm guessing that's to inspire the player to be like, oh, what's over there? And kind of like wander off and head off in that direction. I do think that's a good way to inspire exploration in a player. Oh, there's bandits on the road. Okay. If you were watching, the combat in this game is actually quite good. But in melee, the range combat feels a little bit wispy. Oh my god, he's hiding behind the rock. What's he gonna do? Okay, I'm not getting any perfect parries, but he's also not really dealing any damage here either. There we go, he's down. Block him, take a couple of swings, get stabbed. Obviously, that's how we like to spend our weekend, getting stabbed. Parry you. Oh, we're getting pinged by an archer right now. Archers in this game are like super accurate and hurt like hell. Oh, I leveled up. Nice. That means I can show you the level up mechanics. We'll charge that guy. Oh, I missed. Well, that was supposed to be epic, and I was supposed to stab him, but I guess not. Come here. What are you trying to do? One thing this game does exceptionally well, as I said, is the melee combat. The melee combat, to me, in this game feels really good. There's occasional confusion about, like, the length of a weapon and where the hitboxes actually collide in order to get, like, an actual hit. But I'm using a machete right now, which is, like, a short weapon. So I've been a little bit more accepting of, like, swings and misses, even though it feels like I'm in the right area with them. And so I've played around with a bunch of weapons. I've played around with maces. I've played around with morning stars. I've played around with two-handed swords. I like them all. In fact, I thought the two-handed swords felt especially good. That did not transfer over for the archery. I found the archery to be a little bit weird and wispy, I guess. Like, it doesn't quite have the impact or, like, the draw or, like, the pull that I had hoped it would have. However, it does deal damage, and it is a viable way to play the game. The game does come strapped with a stealth system, which I'm not very good at. I was trying to show it to you right there, but, like, I'm not very good at stealth, and that's just kind of the way it goes. I don't know if he's got the... Get that right. Oh, his own dude clapped him from behind, man. All right, they're both down. I've got a bonus that makes me deal like double damage after a perfect parry, because the game definitely wants you to perfect parry. You can get stronger shields, and you can just kind of like ogre your way through it. But as far as deadliness, actually, this RPG is not like a Skyrim where it's actually kind of like difficult to die on the default setting. This game will actively kill you in like 3 or 4 hits a lot of the time, unless you make the conscious decision to start wearing heavy armor, which obviously I did, you know, because I like that man mode armor. But like, unless you decide to wear heavy armor, you get slapped pretty hard in this game if you take even like one hit from like a knife or whatever. So as far as the difficulty curve goes, you're definitely going to want to learn how to perfect parry, because in a lot of cases, it seems like they've taken a little bit of inspiration from Dark Souls. Not necessarily in terms of like tone or in terms of like difficulty, but in terms of the fact that like blocking in this game, if you're not, oh good, creepy children, just what I always wanted. Oh, they're all facing towards that way. Good. You're going to find these creepy children every now and again. They come from like Merlin's realm or something like that. They're like weird little child demon statues. My extrapolation is whenever they show up, go wherever they're looking. And so that would be this little cave over here that we're supposed to be diving on into. Somebody said that we have company. Did we put out the good silverware? I don't have good silverware. I just have crappy silverware that I got, like, I don't know, like some Rachel Ray Target silverware. You know what I mean? I ain't a rich man. Let's see here. But as I was saying, with regards to Dark Souls doesn't like it when you hide behind a shield the entire time. Dark Souls kind of penalizes you for that. They kind of want you to perfect parry and do all kinds of stuff like that. It doesn't actually look like there's a door right here. But yeah, err on the side of perfect parries in this game. They seem to be gathered around over here.
Finally, welcome to the Wyrdness. Your brethren cannot step into the fog without consequences. But although I am still weak, I can protect you for now.
So, this is a perfect example of the wonkiness that I was talking about. Magic Mode of Light shows up and says that no one can enter the Wyrd without his protection, and while I'm talking to him, I come under attack by bandits that are clearly human beings, that clearly can step into the fog and are perfectly fine.
Because I feel more collected here. I see more and feel more while you are inside of it. It's good to finally be able to speak with you again. This world seems so familiar. Thank you for the opportunity to observe it through your eyes.
Yeah, sure, man. I didn't even know we were going to do this.
Soul must be somewhere near.
All right. So, got any directions?
The horns of the south is the place you need to be. That is what I know for sure.
Horns of the South it is.
Yes, go there. Look for objects. Old ones. The piece of my soul could be in one of them.
Oh, there's like a museum down to the south. I bet it's in there.
And you are on its path. Walk it, and we will find the next piece of my soul. Go without fear. You are safe.
I am safe.
Ally.
Except for, you know, the weapon-wielding men in front of me that are trying to murder my face off. Alright, so we gotta deal with a couple bandits here. And unfortunately, the bandits have an archer. Archers in this game are a big problem because they're infallibly aim-body accurate. Like, I can't even express to you how infallible their aim is. Like, it's so good. Like, they lead you. They're basically undodgeable, so don't even try. All you can really do is break line of sight and hope for the best. That guy's gonna try to heal, and I need him to die. There we go. Block you a little bit. I think we got the knockback right there. Oh, he broke his stamina. There is a green meter underneath every enemy that you fight. That's how close their poise is to being broken. When it breaks, they just stand there wobbling back and forth, kind of like finish him Mortal Kombat style. Now that crappy little archer over here needs to get it. Where is he? Where is that little turd? Come here. I don't like you. You upset me. There's a good parry right there. Look at that damage that we just put on him. Enemies in this game are usually pretty easy to deal with in solo, but if you're dealing with them like, you know, en masse, it can definitely become a little bit of a headache for sure. Is that a bear? Bro, why is there a bear up here? All right, we're going to want to hit the bear from like a distance or whatever. Do I have like a better bow around here? Not really. I kind of wanted to try out something a little heavier for my melee weapon, too. I feel like this guy is just not crack-a-lacking as hard as I want him to crack-a-lack. We do have magic, by the way. I can summon creatures and stuff. I can summon like a magic sword, I think, out of my left hand on this preset, and I can summon a magic wolf out of my right hand. Let's see. There's a bunch of different spells, everything from fireballs to death rays to summons to buffs to heals. All the stuff that you would expect from a magic system. Go ahead and get him with an arrow right there. I've never fought a bear before, so I don't know exactly how this is going to go. I'll be honest with you, he looks kind of big and cranky. I've also run out of stamina, so it's possible that I might get mauled. I mean, it seems like he mostly just has HP going for him, so I think we're good. I think we're all right. I want all that milkweed. There's alchemy in this game, if you're wondering why I'm picking up all the milkweed and all the parts off of a bear. There's different crafting systems inside the confines of the game. There's weapon upgrading. There's also consumables you can find around that increase your stats permanently. Nothing good happens over here, dude. With all these little devil children right here, man. Nothing good happens inside of here. This is one of the things that the game does exceptionally well. Audio, visual, all that stuff, amazing. So like the soundtrack to this game, utterly incredible. The set design in this game, also utterly incredible. Like the locations in this game are some of the most stark and interesting that I think I've ever seen in a game that was not a FromSoft game. Like there's some really cool locations in this game that I enjoyed going to, that I enjoyed exploring. But let's go, I guess, down into the death dungeon and see what's happening here. Your character does have an appearance in this game. Your armor does show up on your character. Since it's a first-person game, you're never going to see that armor, but that's what my character looks like right there, in case you were wondering. I still haven't filled in all my slots yet. I equipped that yesterday while I was streaming. I must have equipped it then died or something. But they've got like a lot of the pieces in the right place here. Like this is definitely a game that I think worships the ground that Morrowind walks on, and for good reason. Morrowind is one of the great RPGs of all time. So to give you a little bit of kind of like my closing thoughts about the game and what I liked about it, I don't know what that thing does, but it looks like it's trying to diddle monster me, dude, so that thing can get out of here. Melee combat. This is a thing that I think the game does very, very well. If you are a fan of playing like barbarians or like paladins or like guys that fight with their brawn and have heavy armor and you enjoy the clank of your weapon hitting the enemy in the face, you know, and the explosion of violence. This game is pretty cool, actually. A lot of fun. Pretty fun to fool around with, if that's what you're in. Oh, this sword kind of... Huh. I expected it, since it was a two-handed sword, to hit a lot harder. But I guess my broad axe just hits harder than it, like, flatly. Interesting. Alright, guess put my shield back on, I suppose. Melee combat is done very well in this game. Hits, impacts, sound effects, they've all been selected well. And I found fighting enemies to be pretty satisfying inside the confines of the game. See, like that right there, that was a satisfying exchange. Doubly so if there's like 3 or 4 skeletons and you're wheeling around, throwing your shield all over the place, one-tapping them. Feels pretty good. Magic and casting feels all right. This game has the excuse of being in like 0.6, and they just released like a big-ass patch for the game like a week ago that like added like a new chapter of the storyline and some other stuff. So this is actively being worked on by Awaken Realms, and this was their first big patch release, I think, since the game came out in February or March. And so people are pretty amped about that, and I've mostly been happy with my time inside of it. However, if you are the kind of person that gets easily annoyed by not being able to figure something out, even if figuring that something out is figuring out whether or not that thing is figure-outable, or you're the kind of person that runs into like weird wonky bugs like those bandits attacking us in the middle of a cutscene, stuff like that, this is not going to be the game for you. You're going to want to wait till this one is further on into development, till it's accumulated a little bit more polish. Still, for me personally, with the game where it's at right now, I've been kind of treating it like Morrowind's kind of wonky goth kid little brother that's really, really into history. It kind of works out if you think about it that way, and it is an enjoyable little title. If you're interested in how character progression works, before we close out this video, basically you level up. Every time you level up, you get points, you apply them. You get 1 point per level. Those points do things. So, for example, the points that I just put in, they've increased my health, they've increased my stamina, and they've increased my carrying capacity. Strength would have increased my damage. Dexterity would have increased my attack speed and my range damage. Practicality is just like loot sense. Spirituality is for casters. And then each of these attributes has a, not really like a tree, it has like a selection of perks. When you hit certain thresholds, you unlock the next layer of perks, and then you can take them the next time you level up. So, for example, I can take Twin Blade Mastery right now because I'm a sword and board guy. So now, being a sword and board guy, I use 15% less stamina whenever I swing my weapon, which allows me to still only get off like 3 swings. But, you know, the game is kind of picky about that. I'm actually reasonably far into the game right now, and I've found that the game really does not want you to swing more than like 3 or 4 times in a go. It seems to be a balancing measure. I've been like dumping my points and my perks into everything having to do with endurance, and like the efficiency of my character fighting with stamina hasn't helped a tiny bit. I still gas out after like 2 swings regardless of the weapon I use. That's why I was fooling around with the machete, as I was trying to kind of like get myself into like a weapon that's a little bit lighter. See, I can do 4 swings with a medium sword. Alright, so what do I like about Tainted Grail? What do I not like? Where am I at about 6 hours into this game? Let's talk it out. So 6 hours in, I think the best thing that I can compare this game to, and this is something that I fall back on, is Gothic 3. I would compare it to Gothic 3. It's a wildly ambitious game that's being made by a tiny team that's trying to create a product that can viably hold its chin up next to things like Skyrim and, you know, Red Dead Redemption, the rest of the open world kings. And I don't think it accomplishes that goal in the current build, which is 0.6. But I don't think that's necessarily an admonishment of the game either. There are a lot of things that I like here, and there's a lot of things that have done really, really well. So, like the soundtrack, for example, they went nuts with the soundtrack in this game. It's really good. The sound design is also quite good. There is melee combat. It feels chunky. It feels satisfying. The perfect parry system is well designed. It has a good window that feels smooth, and the enemies fight smart. They are absolutely a threat in this game. If you're outnumbered, Avalon is a really easy place to get buried in. There's crafting, there's upgrading, there's imprinting items, there's potions, there's cooking. There's a fishing rod that's labeled as a tool that implies that at some point there may be fishing. There's a pickaxe that's labeled a tool as well that might be for, I don't know, being able to dig ore or something. The voice acting is well done. Everybody mutters a little bit too much for my taste, but I suppose it's kind of in line with the gritty world, but it's still decent voice acting. And there are scenes and set designs all over the place that look fantastic. Much of the world design is done so well that it kind of towers over the player, and I definitely felt as though I was in a world of legends like King Arthur. On the rougher side, what I bumped into the hardest is quest progression. A lot of the descriptions to quests don't give you a ton of information to go off of, and that's okay because they give you a quest marker, but sometimes the quest markers are in weird spots that don't quite logically get you on the right path towards an objective, so then you gotta like figure it out. That's not a problem, except that when you combine that with the fact that some of the quests are actually not completable in the current build, but you can still accept them and get them in early access, meant that I spent a lot of time like second guessing and wondering if I even could complete a quest whenever I hit like the smallest snag, and that doubt's not like a good thing. It kind of took the wind out of my sails. The bow could feel a little bit better. It didn't feel like super raw to me like the one in Far Cry 3, 4, 5 did, which in my opinion are some of the best bows in game. I actually really like the Far Cry bows. There's a bit of jank with non-human enemies. They take weird paths. They attack from odd animation angles to deal with the terrain. Similarly, some enemies will like slide a little bit, like when they're approaching you and whatnot, like their walk doesn't look quite right because they're like dealing with the terrain. Enemy archers are super accurate and deadly, and they probably shouldn't fire into melee with the precision that they do. They occasionally hit their own guys, but like, you know, they're still really, really accurate. The inventory, while better than Starfield's, I was still a little disappointed by it. It's kind of console-y, and the whole thing is based around like rotary menus and whatnot. I felt like it would have been a much more functional UI if it was done in line with kind of like PC inputs, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I just hate rotary menus. I can't stand them. Maybe that's what it is. Just a bias for rotary menu-based consumables and things. You do have a solid variety of filters and sorting methods inside that inventory, though, to get around. So that's done very, very well. All in all, I definitely felt like Tainted Grail was one of those games that I definitely 100% want to play in 1.0. But for this current patch, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, and it's kind of too early for me to invest a lot of time and energy into it just due to the little things I ran into from time to time that broke me out of my immersion. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were fooling around with Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. Tomorrow it'll be something else. I'm glad to update my coverage on the game, and I'm looking forward to seeing the 1.0. Catch y'all later.